Right, we're rolling.
We're rolling.
Right.
Wonderful.
Guys, welcome.
Thanks
you.
for having us.
How you doing?
Good.
Yeah.
It's about time that we're on your podcast.
I know.
We have been harassing you every single day. Get us on. We want to tell our story.
We've actually had a little hiatus, didn't we? Because obviously
We did.
Little man arrived, and that just threw all of our plans out the window. But we've been back in the hot seat now for a couple of months now, trying to get some guests on. And then obviously Eleanor was telling me about. I mean, obviously I know you from your Instagram and stuff, but I didn't know anything about your story. And Eleanor touched on a little bit briefly, and then we were just having a conversation like this. This would be great to have this on camera. So first of all, I want to say personally, thank you guys so much for coming and actually wanting to share this. This is quite a hard topic for a lot of people to talk through, even if they've been through it and they've dealt with it, and you know they're at a place where they're happy. And obviously you guys are really lucky that you've got your miracle. But just talking about it openly is brave. So yeah, thanks for coming down anyway.
No, thank you for having us.
Yeah, anything to do to help, really.
Yeah.
Spread that sort of message, what you guys are trying to do, which is brilliant.
Yeah.
And also for us as well, I think we did feel really lonely, didn't we?
Yeah.
For such a long period of time. And it's not until you open up to your other friends that you realise that there are other people going through it, but it can feel like a really lonely time. And like I said, it's when you open up, but it's getting to that point of opening up. Yeah. And I think if there's somewhere like what you're trying to create where you can go without necessarily going to that opening up step, I think that's really important to have somewhere that you can go in private. And I do feel like Illuma provides that space, because it takes a while. Well, it took us ages to go and say, okay, right, we need to talk about this now. But if we could have just gone somewhere and just realised there was loads of other people that were dealing with it in private before that first step of reaching out, then we would have been a lot better off, I think.
Yeah, and I think people don't realise the effect on your mental health as
completely.
well. It takes out on you,
huge bit.
and you sort of see yourself as, am I good enough? Is this supposed to happen? Is this my life? Am I supposed to have kids?
Yeah.
And
that's the saddest part.
it is. Yeah, that is.
You're like second doubting yourself.
Yeah.
Like, is this actually going to happen, or for me, or is it meant to be?
Yeah.
And that question you ask yourself, like, and I think we went through it in that sort of year before. We had the year of the trip where we just went away and just had to just. It was
switch off from it all.
Just like we had to just stop for a minute. We're having those conversations. Like, if we don't have children, we'll be okay. Like, it almost accepting
we are enough.
Yeah,
like,
we're enough, and we will be enough, and it is going to be still a beautiful life even if that doesn't happen. But yeah, you go through all these kind of phases of it, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, before we delve in, maybe a little introduction, and maybe at that point after that, just tell us a little bit about your journey and what that fertility journey looked like for you guys. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Do you want to go first? Shall I go first?
You go first. Yeah.
So Harry and I, we met in 2023.
Yeah,
am I right?
correct,
supporting West Ham because we're big West Ham fans, and we were in Larnaca, Cyprus, and we met at the pub. And then I chased you for ages.
Yeah,
I'm going to admit to that now. It took me a while. I've always said like I was just playing it cool. Was I not playing it cool? Chasing you for ages. Then we finally got together at the end of the year, didn't we? We met at the beginning of the year, and quite quickly we knew. Well, you know when you know, and I know you would have got that together as well. You know when you know, and I think it was quite obvious. We always wanted children. We always wanted a family. And did we start trying quite quickly? Well, I came off contraception. It was like, if it happens, it happens.
Mm-hmm.
But knowing that we wanted it to happen,
Yeah.
didn't we?
Yeah. I think it was a good year in that we sort of wanted it
To happen.
Yeah.
And it wasn't happening. And I then started going through all the tests myself to see about my fertility, because I've got PCOS, and that obviously makes things really... Do you have PCOS?
I do, yeah.
And it makes things really tricky in any case. And I always thought I was the problem. So we tried to go through the NHS and we had no luck. Unfortunately, obviously, we know the NHS is so understaffed and underfunded, and a lot of people were a lot further on in their fertility journey. So rightly so, they sort of like had like were first in line, weren't they? So we decided to go down the private route, which is obviously very expensive. And my PCOS was limiting, but not so much so that my egg reserve wasn't really high. My egg count was really high. And actually they were quite hopeful that it would work, wouldn't it? So we gave it another, was it 6 months?
Yeah, we gave it another 6 months. We said to ourselves, because we didn't know what the problem was. It could have been me, it could have been Jess.
But we didn't think ever you, did we? We never thought you.
But we thought more for Jess's sake, because
of
she was
PCOS.
on her medication,
Yeah.
on antidepressants and stuff like that. That sort of was the cause of the problem. So
And then Harry's best mate had a miscarriage. And that sort of like, we then thought, we started then looking into miscarriages and into, as you do, to try and support your friends. And then we didn't realise that actually there's women's fertility and there's men's fertility. I think as a woman, I just immediately thought it was me.
Well, you do though.
You do. You automatically, and PCOS,
did.
and everyone, did you as well?
Yeah.
You just think it's you're the problem. And you did that test, didn't you? Do you want to speak about it because it was your sort of...
Well, yeah, because we thought at first it was you, didn't we? And then we thought, well, let's just sort of let me do the test and sort of let's have that equation, and then we make sure it's not me. And we done it, and it came back. It was a home one we got from Amazon. It was only about 15 quid, wasn't it? And we done it, and it come back as a positive that I was.
Like a really strong positive,
like a strong positive.
That there was nothing there.
Like
no swimmers,
no swimmers whatsoever.
Right. Oh wow. Okay.
Like they were there, but just not doing it.
Just not doing anything. Yeah, literally there, not at home, not working, not swimming. haven't got the armbands on.
Wow. Okay.
And
that,
so that
how was that for you to like find that out?
It was hard. I mean, it took us by like really like as a shock. And because that's all we've ever wanted. Yeah. I mean, I've got nieces and nephews, and I love them dearly. And seeing them and seeing you with them, it made us even more want the kids.
Yeah.
Together.
But we did it by process of elimination, didn't we? We just did, you know, the NHS asked you to tick boxes for the fertility tests and stuff.
Yeah.
We wanted to tick that box to know that he was definitely all right. Like, we just wasn't ever thinking that test was going to come back anything but fine. Like, we really was.
It just doesn't cross your mind whatsoever. You always just think it's the women, and that's what everyone's sort of mind goes to.
Yeah.
So,
and it was almost like a COVID test. It was almost like, well, we're going to have to do this again, and like quite quickly, because there's no way that your swimmers are actually not dead. And then, but it was true. Honestly, that's how we were thinking, wasn't it? Like, they're non-existent. They don't, like, what? Like, hang on. So I'm not the problem. You are. And then where do we go from here? And so we genuinely thought his swimmers were gone. What on earth are we going to do? Where do we go from here? That was what I was thinking, wasn't it?
Well, you start doubting yourself and you start thinking this is a long road ahead. I mean, where are we going to find the money first? Because IVF.
Is it going to work?
Is it going to work? Yeah, there's no
Who do we know who's been through IVF?
There's no guarantee that
where do you turn to?
Who can you talk to? Where do you start? What do we do? Like, it was a sleepless night, wasn't it?
Yeah. You just think, growing up, you just think there's nothing wrong with me. I will be fine. It'll be like everyone else. Every Tom, Dick and Harry, we're just going to have kids and it's going to be no trouble, no problems at all. And then when you do that test and you start to realise, actually, this ain't going to be straightforward. And...
it's heartbreaking.
It is. It's like a dagger to the heart, and you think, oh God, so what's the plan now? What are we going to do?
I think it's worth mentioning as well my eating disorders, because whereas you has always thought I've got no problems, there was a bit of doubt in me because I suffered with bulimia for 9 years. There was a tiny little part of me that thought I might not be able to have children.
Does it? Can it affect you?
Massively, yeah, massively. Eating disorders, are like a real. I think the stats are really high. Somewhat 60% of eating disorder sufferers after a certain amount of time will go on to not be able to have children.
Wow, I didn't know that.
It massively affects all of your insides and causes infertility. And I know that when I went to rehab, a lot of the girls that I'm friends with that have come out of there are struggling with their fertility or have worries that it's never going to be their turn. So I think that was there was positives to doing the fertility test, because it was like, okay, the bulimia hasn't affected you, tick that one. Then we've got the PCOS, but the egg count is high, so we're going to be all right. And then we're back to square one at this point, because you've done your tests and your swimmers don't have any armbands. We're like, what are we going to do? So we turned to the NHS straight away, didn't we? And was like, please help us. And they put you through to... where was it in London?
The fertility centre in Central, I can't remember it was. It was by Farringdon anyway.
But it's a 6-month wait. Yeah. Like, it's not straight away, is that private?
No, that's through the NHS. Right.
What was that for then? To get more tests?
Just to get more tests, just to be certain. Obviously, because the test we had was off Amazon, we didn't know for sure. We didn't want to take that for gospel. So we wanted to physically go to doctors
and do it properly
and make sure that was the route we had to go down, and that was the problem, and I was the problem. So
I know, it's horrible, isn't it? We're saying like our problem, like it's just caught me. Like, how many times did we say that? Like, you're the problem, I'm the problem. Like, isn't it mad?
We said exactly the same.
Collectively,
it was exactly
we are
the same.
The problem.
I'm not going to stop your flow here, but we had exactly the same thing. Eleanor, we tried for a year. And then we had some tests with the NHS. They said unexplained infertility. Then I went and did some tests, which was recommended to me by Eleanor's acupuncturist, a DNA fragmentation test. And then I said, it came back horrendous. It was really bad. Like the opposite way the graph should have been. That was the result. And then I was like, I'm the problem. You are. You're constantly passing that problem baton one to the other.
Yeah.
Who is it? Is it me? Is it you?
Yeah.
Sorry, so carry on. But it's
Horrible.
awful. It's awful.
And I've actually just realised that how many times we have called each other a problem and we were never a problem.
No.
And how dare we both called each other that? Like, it's just horrible.
It's not on purpose. We've not.
Yeah, no.
It's not.
Just that negative
And
terminology.
And it's not a problem because in the sense that it's a problem that you can fix. Like, we're calling each other a problem as if there's like something that we could have done to make it better, but ultimately your fertility is what you're born with. There's nothing that you, because I mean, I don't know if you did the same, but I was drinking bone broth.
Yeah.
What else was I drinking?
Beetroot juice.
Beetroot juice.
Everything.
I cut out, and I mean, bearing in mind I had a history with eating disorders, and I always vowed to myself once I'd recovered that I would never be problematic with food. I was going for every diet possible to boost that fertility, and so were you, weren't we? I mean, it was ridiculous the kind of things that we were trying. Anything.
But you'll try anything.
But you would try literally anything, and every time we got that negative test, I would call our friend Paz and say, "Is there anything else I can try?" And she went, "Oh, well, maybe you can try this," and I would try that.
And it'd be another week of trying something else.
Yeah. And then there was another test, and then it wouldn't work, and then it was another month, and it was just permanent, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Just always, there's something is going to work. Something somewhere is going to...
Something will stick.
Something will stick. We stopped. I mean, I don't drink anyway, but you stopped drinking. I was vaping. I stopped doing that. Exercise went up. I mean, sleep went up. Just anything that we could get our hands on to try and...
Just to have a positive outcome out of it. And nothing seemed to work, did it? It seemed to we just done something different every week, and it seemed just to be the same outcome. Oh, not pregnant. And you went down sort of... You looked more into the fertility side of things, didn't you? And
science.
we have to have sex at this point, at this time of day, and this day, and this day. And
oh my God, it's actually
and
just reminding me how in depth you're like, if I have sex at this point, in this position, surely it'll work.
Yeah. And that's what it got down to, didn't you? Just...
It was bad. It was
obsessive.
Yeah.
Would you say?
It became
takes
more
over
than
your
an
whole
obsession.
life.
It completely takes over your whole
does.
life. It really does.
Every day I'd wake up and I actually sometimes used to think, and here we go again.
Here we go again.
Like every day, it was like, and also when it used to, I don't know whether you felt the same, but when it got like close to that ovulation week, I'm like, oh, fuck. And then it's like, it was just constant pressure, and it teared us apart in a lot of ways in terms of our like closeness, our relationship,
Our intimate relationship.
But then also that has a knock-on effect in your daily life anyway.
Yeah, of course.
You guys
100%, because it ends up sets being, it was like a coursework. It was like a
Transactional,
chore. It was
that's
like, we have to have it, like, it wasn't natural anymore. It actually felt like I'm having to do another job, coming home from work and having to do another job on top of what I had just done, and it wasn't enjoyable, was it?
But you want it so bad. You want, like, you dream of the baby, you think of the baby, and I think where you got to the point where you were like, are we enough? I think we were dreading that conversation, weren't we?
Yeah.
And I just don't think we could ever say to each other, we just didn't think, don't.
Because I remember saying to you, I turned around and said to you, Jess, I can't do anymore. It hurts.
I'm raw over here.
I know.
Honestly,
it was.
I remember saying that to you, and your face was like, what? I can't do this anymore.
But we're also looking at my watch thinking, we haven't got time. But we've got 24 more hours. And then my window's gone for another month.
Worst.
And then we're getting older and older. Like, I was edging towards 30. You were edging towards... And I was like, honey, with all due respect, this is not the time. Like, pull yourself together. But we have to do, don't we? We have to carry on.
That's what it was like.
I don't care if it's saucy, something, anything. Whatever you want to do. An ice pack, however this will help. Get it together. But we've got about 12 more hours of this window, and then we've got to wait another 28 days. So we haven't got time for this, have we?
That was it, though. It was times where like we'd just be so pressured, and you're like, right,
Times
that's
of the
fine.
essence.
Right, well, we're back here in a few hours, and we're gonna go again. It's like this is tough. It is tough, and it takes away that intimacy.
Well, it's not spontaneous.
No, you can't be.
And it's just
scheduled.
It's not
It's
romantic.
scheduled. No, it's not, and it feels awful, doesn't it? Because you want it to be, and you want it to be nice, and you want it to be enjoyable, and be romantic, like you said, but it doesn't. It's
not
sort of. I was going out to the pub to meet friends, and you'll be like, "Oh, you need to come back at this certain time because we need to do it." And you can't drink too much. You can only have 2 pints because.
Yeah, of course.
Or 1.5. Can you ask for a half? And I was like, I'm not asking for a half.
and oh no,
but we're laughing about it now, but it wasn't funny.
It was at the time. It wasn't, but you can look back then and
it was this time last year.
Yeah,
it is a year. Literally, we're the 17th. It's a year ago today.
Yeah, it's a bang on.
Is it?
So here you go to the day.
That's when you went Red Raw.
Needed the Sudocrem.
This was like,
I still feel the pain now.
I think we were then going to have to say, well, we were going to move to Australia. That's how we were going to get away with
Really?
it. Wasn't it?
Yeah,
I remember
it was,
when you went on your trip.
Yeah, we.
Because I did I not take a test in Australia and it came back negative, and I said to you, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
We're going to have to just move to Australia. And
But just start fresh. Clean slate.
Be child free.
Yeah.
but also in the back of my mind, vitamin D really helps for conception. So that was, we're going to move to the beach, but also there's a part of me that's saying, she's going, I'm not moving to Australia. Also, we had to be a year on that visa, didn't we? And couldn't have children. So I was thinking in the back of my head, I was like, oh, great. Because we're trying to get a permanent visa, we can't try for children because we can't have them because then we can't get a visa. So it'll be a bit of a break. And then we were... Sorry, Bill.
That's all right.
You're right. Yeah. So that was the thinking, wasn't it? And then...
Well, we went to Australia at beginning of last year and we was there for 3 weeks and it was the happiest we'd ever been in our relationship. I mean, we was just carefree out there. I mean,
Lovely.
Different way of life.
Different way of life. We was living in the sun and it was like, it brought us closer after a difficult year.
Completely.
And we wanted to go back there and sort of, we was craving that, weren't we? We were craving to go back there and live in the sun, just even if it was just for a year, just so we could sort of reconnect. Because we felt like, and we felt like it had been such a difficult year.
And then I was almost saying to you, remember when we had that conversation, this is like 2 weeks from now, so 2 weeks from this day, and I said, this might have stuck this time, Harry. I could be pregnant. And you were like, I hope not, because it were in our plans. Because in our head, you had set yourself on Australia then, hadn't you?
Yeah, I'd sorted out work out there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You were really ready to go.
Ready to go,
The cats were vaccinated. We were flying the cats.
Oh, it wasn't just a conversation. Like,
No, it was, we was going.
things were in place.
We told our parents, we was going to go. We was on the brink of going.
And you were like, it will just happen naturally out there anyway. Like, it's where we're meant to be. But also knowing that if we got pregnant now, there was no chance we could go. It was scamper the plans, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Completely. Yeah.
So
there was no magical reveal. You know how you see on Instagram with the tests and they do the test and they put it in a box and then you get the baby grown, you give it to the dad and whatever. I knew on the 12th of April, I had the date in my calendar, red dotted, and it was this day I can do a test. It's the earliest you can do. When you're TTC and you do all of the lines and whatever. I'd done one 2 days before just on the off chance because I saw someone on TikTok doing them, came back negative, and then I just thought, whatever happens, Harry's going to be happy going in the sunshine, and I've got my plan of how we can carry on the TTC journey, but in the sunshine. Yeah. And then TTC is trying to conceive. If for anyone who doesn't know,
bloody lingo, isn't it?
I know. No assumed knowledge. I know.
I'm sitting there going, TTC,
Isn't it mad how women have conversations between them that men don't even get involved in?
And have no idea what we're talking about.
But this is how much once your body clock clicks that you want a baby, I don't think you can ever switch it off. I think it's ingrown.
Even when you're not trying.
You're trying.
You're trying.
Yeah,
You're trying.
Yeah.
So I did the test and I couldn't believe it when the blue line, and then I was like, I'm going to have to do a posh one. And the posh one for us was, when it says not pregnant.
Yeah.
The digital one.
It tells you how many weeks.
Yeah. Because they're expensive. They're like 13, 14 pounds.
Yeah.
And by this point, we'd been through about 100 quid's worth. So Harry, we called them the posh ones. And we were only allowed to do the posh ones if there might be a slight chance. Did it, and it came back pregnant, didn't it? And then, oh my God, I'm hyperventilating at 6 o'clock in the morning because obviously I can't sleep, knowing that day was that day. You can't sleep. The test is...
So was Harry still asleep?
Harry's still asleep.
I'm still asleep in bed.
Woken you up.
But it was the weekend that your mum had flown back from France and your sister was back from Canada.
And my brother was home from France because it was my nan's funeral.
Yeah.
But it was meant... It was meant to be, wasn't it?
Meant to be that weekend where it's very rare that all the family are together.
Never. Only on big occasions. It's either a christening, a wedding, or a funeral. Because Diz, my sister, is in Vancouver. Sam's in France. Mum's in France. Everyone happened to be in the house that morning, didn't they?
Wow.
No way.
Did that test.
You come walking in, didn't you? And I still remember like half asleep, waking up and going, and still thinking it's a dream because we'd been through so many tests.
And your eyes just like when you had to grab your glasses from the side because I don't think you thought you could see.
And I was like,
because you do that anyway with a test. You're like, do I see? Am I making this line up? Is there anything there?
And then you just looked at me and you went, yes, babe, yes.
Yeah, I was, yes. But then in the head you're thinking, what about Australia? What about we've made all these plans?
We've made all these plans.
But now
we've got what we wanted, so we don't have to. But then what if it doesn't happen? And then what if it? And then instead of it being like this is the best day ever, you straight away go to what if anything happens? And this was his last swimmer, and this is. Because obviously it was a month to the day on that 12th of May. So we found out on the 12th of April we were pregnant, but on the 12th of May, you were going to the infertility clinic for that big test. And we had been gearing up for that day in our head, thinking whatever happens when it comes back, we're going to Australia, so it doesn't matter. Yeah. And maybe we can get IVF on the Australian system and maybe we can. Yeah. And it was almost like for you, I think it was that realisation of like Australia was like straight ahead, but hang on, we've got what we wanted now. Where do we go from here? Yeah. And how do we get a visa even if we want? But what do we do? It
was still that doubt in the back of your head because even though you are pregnant, there's so much can happen when you are pregnant. Yeah. And I don't know about for you guys, when you finally got pregnant, it's like, or if I lose it, what if this happens?
And you know that too well.
And it was still, and it's like it stops you from sort of celebrating.
The joy gets taken away. It does.
Because also we're looking at the quality, obviously, permanently. My scientific ADHD brain is like quality of his sperm, quality of my egg. And we know there's problems because we've identified those. So is this going to actually stick? Is this going to actually happen? Yeah. Oh my God. And is this your last ever swimmer? Is this our...
You can't not.
Because at one point we did think, didn't we? We've made up our mind about Australia. We know we're going to be happy there. If we know that we can get pregnant now, why don't we just go to Australia and try there? But then it's like, is this your last ever chance?
It was thrilling, didn't we? We was thinking, well, do we want it now, or do we want to go to Australia, live out that year that we always talked about, and then try again out there, knowing that we could come back and...
But we couldn't take the risk, could we?
No.
Couldn't take the risk. So then I'm pregnant. So we've obviously told my mum, told my brother, told my sister. Anyway, Australia never happened and it's completely out of the picture now anyway, isn't it? We just knew it was just not going to be feasible. We did try with the visas. It just wasn't going to happen. No. And then I got really ill, didn't I?
Yeah.
So that we just couldn't.
It quickly went downhill. It went from celebration, sky high, we was on top of the world, to... crashing down.
How quickly did it all go sort of tits up?
And also, sorry, when you say ill, do you mean with the pregnancy?
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
When did we have the emergency intervention? 8 weeks pregnant?
Yeah.
8 weeks pregnant. You'd been at your sister's all day. Yeah. I couldn't go. Whose birthday was it? Your niece's?
Yeah.
Millie's?
It was, yeah.
Or was Margot just born? So there was a reason why there was absolutely no way I was going to go because I was just... so depressed, so ill.
Did you feel sick?
Yeah.
Were you being sick?
Yeah, horrendously. So I was sick the whole 9 months.
Yeah, but it's hard.
Really?
Every day?
Every single day.
Multiple times.
Every single
realise
day.
It was every single day.
Well, there was a 2 week period in August, I remember.
Yeah, where I did.
And it was lovely because it was sunny, it was summer, and it was a 2 week period where you wasn't sick, and we thought, oh, this is brilliant. This is what pregnancy is supposed to feel like. You're not being sick. We can go out and do stuff. We can enjoy it, being happy together.
Of course.
And it was like the best 2 weeks because you wasn't sick, and all of a sudden it just came back.
Again.
So multiple times a day.
Up to my record was 16 times a day being sick.
Yeah.
Harry had to redecorate the downstairs bathroom before the baby was born.
Twice.
Because there was just sick projectile vomiting everywhere.
Oh, so it wasn't even just like a little bit. It's like
it was coming.
You poor thing. That sounds.
Nearly got taken into hospital. Yeah. Couldn't fathom the idea of being taken in, so I had to really try, didn't I? Just try and keep hold of any little nutrients that I.
Goodness me!
But I do think that's a really important conversation to have because initially the eating disorder was going to prevent me from having my baby. And then I've got my pregnancy, which is what I've always wanted, and now I've got to be sick again. But this time, it's not the same sickness because I'm not doing it to myself. This is sickness that is uncontrollable, that is chronic, that is happening to you even though you don't want it, and there's nothing that can stop it. And that can be really triggering for a lot of people. But again, I don't think that is something that is very spoken about because it is so taboo. And I knew I never wanted to go back into my eating disorder, but it's hard not to. It's really hard to try and keep that positive mindset of this is nothing that I can prevent. This is nothing that I can help. This is just like run of the mill, and that is. But I would say there are a lot of resources out there for people to get help for eating disorders in pregnancy, and you would be surprised at how many people go through it as well.
Yeah. Wow.
Do you think people, I don't know if this is a silly question, but can people develop an eating disorder during pregnancy?
Do you know what? I haven't looked into it, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Because you went off your food,
surprise
didn't you?
me. Yeah.
You went off your food. I know in pregnancy you were like eating for two, stuff like that.
Yeah.
There was a lot of times where you didn't even want to eat because you didn't want to feel like I wanted to throw that up. I don't want to go eat this meal because I know in 5 seconds time you've cooked this lovely meal and I'm going to go throw it up in the toilet.
Awful.
But I've got to eat because I've got to feed her, and I've got to still keep my body going, because if my body goes, then obviously she stops growing. So then, I mean, Harry would cook me 2 dinners. So say like we'd have steak and potatoes. He'd have a steak and potato pre-sickness, and then a steak and potato after.
Because you knew.
We knew the outcome.
We just knew the outcome.
So we end up buying like 3 or 4 dinners because we knew we had sat down at 7 o'clock to have this dinner that Jess would throw it up, and we'd have to sit back down at 8:30 to have another dinner.
And then being sick up to 16 times a day, it was just horrendous. My mental health was at an all-time low. I thought it was going to be the happiest time of my life. All I've ever wanted was this baby. I've got this baby, and now my life's hell. And I don't know if I can carry on doing this.
It was hard because I remember you at one point you turned around to me and said, I don't want this baby anymore. Yeah. And for us to go all through what we went through, and then for Jess to say that, I'm trying to persuade Jess to sort of be like, no, come on, Jess, look, this is all we've ever wanted.
Yeah. But how are we going to carry on like this? Because your life was hell.
Yeah.
It was so miserable.
I mean, I'm having to go to work, and then Jess is like, oh, you need to come home because I'm being sick and I can't clean it up, and I'm just in bed and I've thrown up on the bed and stuff like that. And it was
been everywhere.
And it felt like just the longest 9 months of our lives. And it felt like every day was just triple the hours of all it was.
So we had to have the medical intervention, didn't we? So it got really bad at one point. I would have done something silly to hurt myself and the baby on this particular Friday night. I just couldn't do it anymore, could I? You'd just come back from your sister's. I'd been on my own all day. And I think the thoughts had just got so loud that it needed to stop. And we needed to do something. So we called 111.
111, yeah.
And they were brilliant. Absolutely. They acted so quickly. They sent me to that intervention centre, didn't they?
Just down the road.
Just down the road. Yeah, just down the road from here,
really?
actually. Yeah, they took me in and we had a really in-depth conversation with the doctor on site.
And this was like 1 o'clock in the morning at this point.
Oh, wow.
This is
really
this is
really
like a 24-hour service.
That's amazing.
Which was brilliant. And we can give you more of the details if you need to put it in a description or whatever, just for anyone that might need it. But it was a fantastic service, wasn't it? And this was the Friday night. Obviously, doctors are closed Saturday, Sunday. But by the Monday, she had booked me in, hadn't she, to see the perinatal mental health team, midwifery team. So I would go from a normal midwife to the mental health specialist teams. And from there, the service that we have received from the NHS has been absolutely outstanding. So we were at Lewisham Hospital, and this was the Indigo team as part of the perinatal mental health team. They got me they got my drugs up, my antidepressants back up, which the GP had said I'd have to stop because it would affect the baby. But at this point we didn't know if she was a he or she, but the growth would be horrendous, wouldn't she? She'd have problems.
She'd come out with the shakes.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So
with withdrawals. You're basically killing your child was the impression that I got. Not under the mental health perinatal team. They are absolutely fantastic. And it is a service that is provided nationwide. So if anyone feels like they've got a problem with their mental health whilst being pregnant, it's not an abnormality. Is it 49% of women in the UK struggle with mental health during pregnancy, and it's called prenatal depression. So
what I loved about them, and they will the message they got across was you're the most important person.
Yeah.
Without the baby, they doesn't survive without your mum.
You need to be
so
well.
You're the one that needs to be well. You're the one that needs to have all the care, whatever you need, because that baby doesn't survive without you. And I love that, because a lot of people forget that message when it comes to having babies, that the babies need you to survive. You need to be on top form.
And ultimately, the ultimatum I had was you either take the antidepressants and the drugs and you carry on trying to have this baby, and if anything happens, we're on the receiving end once she's born, and we can help her, or you don't take them and I die. That was the ultimatum that was given, wasn't it?
Another tough conversation we had to have.
Yeah.
Again, we've had so many throughout the last 9 months, and that was another tough conversation we had to have together to say, well, it's either I carry on taking this and she could end up with withdrawals or whatever when she's born, or I'm not here anymore.
Yeah, no, it's not.
Yeah.
That's not.
So what do you do? And then it was just a battle. The whole pregnancy was a battle, apart from these 2 weeks. And the only reason why that wasn't a battle is because the NHS finally gave me these drugs that were anti-sickness. But the problem is they were sedative. So they would put me to sleep at night for a good 6 or 7 hours. And in my head, I was thinking, God, if she comes out and she's fine and everything's hunky-dory and I've got to do night feeds because I'd love to breastfeed, how am I going to do that if I'm sedated?
Oh, this was afterwards. Oh, yeah, no.
So I have to stop the drugs. So it was either I carry on through this pregnancy, not being sick and everything's blissful, like those 2 weeks in August, which would be fantastic. But then I've got to have the withdrawals when she's born. Yeah. Also, at this point, we were having conversations with the midwife about postnatal depression, because if you've got prenatal depression, there's a 90% chance that you could have postnatal. So I was geared up in my head. I knew this was going to affect me. I knew there was going to be another mental health challenge. Like, I hadn't been through enough with my blooming mental health. Let's give you something else to let's just carry on. That's another thing. Yeah. But we were ready, weren't we? We were prepared. I knew I was going to have it. Everything was geared up towards it. I'd obviously stopped these drugs. The sickness had gone up an extra level, hadn't it, in the last 9 weeks of the pregnancy. Yeah, it just completely ramped up.
From what I know about it, I know usually it's in the first few months, and I didn't know it could carry on or get worse towards the end.
The condition is called hyperemesis.
Yeah.
Oh. HG, it's
Never
for
heard
short.
of that.
Yeah.
HG, yeah.
And that is Kate Middleton had it really, really badly.
My friend Erin had it with both her pregnancies, and she was in hospital both times on a drip because she couldn't even keep water down.
Horrendous.
And that was all the way up to the day that Bill was born as well.
We were getting to that stage, weren't we? But I just knew I couldn't be in that hospital, and I couldn't leave him on his own with the dog and the 2 cats. I know it sounds silly, but I was already a mum of 3. So I just,
her mum, no, we get it.
I just couldn't. And you going to work, and then what was I going to do in a hospital by myself? And then so we pushed it right to the limit, wasn't it? Right to the limit.
Can we just mention as well? You are at that moment of time. You were still trying to grow your social media as well. So after going through all this, Jess was still trying to work through all this while being sick, trying to post on Instagram with one hand, throwing up in the toilet with the other, and.
We don't do things by half. We're trying to build an empire whilst being sick every day. But those were the cards that I was dealt. It was either I was going to crack on with it, but I didn't crack on with it. I moaned a lot, didn't I? A hell of a lot. Yeah. And I'm not going to sit here and say that I just was full steam ahead and crack on. I'm sick. No, I moaned about it every single day and hated every single day of my pregnancy. It meant I couldn't bond with my baby. I had a real problem bonding with her. I didn't like her, did I, for a long time? Because I knew she was the reason why I was being so sick, and I was trying
Was this while you were pregnant or after she was pregnant?
While he was pregnant,
yeah. And she was just making my life so difficult, and everything was taking off in my career. And then at the same time, she was there, but it's all I've ever wanted. But she's holding me back, and then it's all going to be horrendous when she's born anyway, because I'm going to get postnatal and baby blues and goodness knows what else. I was thinking, oh my God, what am I going to do? Like, how are we going to get through this?
Yeah, he was looking at it like it was a burden. When I was like excited, looking at going, the bump's growing, I can't wait to meet you. This is so exciting. Where we was on different levels, weren't we? You was like, oh, I can't go through this. I don't want this. She's a burden to me and my career. We didn't have a name. You didn't feel close to her. Where I was the complete different. I could see her growing every day and just getting bigger, and I just couldn't wait. I was counting down the days. And that was difficult as well through the pregnancy, on top of the sickness, where we was on different levels where I was really excited and you wasn't.
What was that like for your relationship then, if you felt completely different, like different feelings about her arriving? What was that like for you guys? Did you have to work through that?
It was a strain.
When she arrived, did that all change?
It was definitely a strain.
But it was a strain, but at the same time, it's really weird. it did bring us closer, didn't it, that pregnancy? It's really funny, isn't it, how at sometimes I could have killed you. But at other times, he was the only other person, because when you talk about pregnancy and sickness, no one really understands unless they've been through it. And being sick 16 times a day is more than I ever was when I was bulimic. And that was self-inflicted. I couldn't control anything. No one apart from Harry understood the pain of what I was going through. And I think that was something that it did.
And the dads, the husbands, the boyfriends, they sort of, they don't get seen because it's all about the woman and the pregnancy and the baby. But I had to go through it as well. I had to be there. I was the one that I was having to clean up the sick, having to cook the dinners, having to feed the cats, take the dogs for a walk, literally do everything around the house. While Jess had to just obviously, for no fault of your own, have to just sit there and sort of try and keep this baby alive. And I worked nights at the same time. So,
wow,
it was a challenging 9 months, and. When it come to the end, I remember the first day she was born. I remember going, it's over. Thank God it's over. Thank God it's over.
First thing I did when she was, because I had to have a C-section. So as if I wanted my birth, I wanted my natural birth, I wanted my swimming pool. I thought this is the only thing that I'm gonna somewhat control. She was breech. Yeah. She was breech, and I was so weak from the sickness. I couldn't. There was no way I was going to be able to deliver naturally. They offered to turn her around. I wasn't strong enough to do it. I just said, let's just C-section it. Let's just get it out the way. The first thing we did when she lifted up was I turned to Harry and I said, we did it. Not like, this is the best day of my life. I'm so happy. I'm so overjoyed. Oh my goodness. I looked at you dead in the eyes and I said, we did it. We've finally done it.
Like the finish line. Like that feeling.
Yeah, like that long journey of the 9 months. Or it's even not longer than 9 months. It was the year before that as well. So you're talking about 18, 19 months of that big long journey, and she's finally here and we finally did it.
Yeah.
And that was, I remember the first thing we said to each other when we did it.
Yeah, but it took away, I think, from that moment of overwhelming joy, and I wouldn't say it was the best day of my life, and it wasn't. We've agreed that, haven't we? Because it was so stressful. It was so. These are the best days of my life now. Her smiling, her looking at me, her growing, her being here. This is how I imagine love to be at that first sight. But it wasn't, was it? When she, because there was so much relief. And
again, I think there's so much pressure for people to say that was a
best day of my life.
I felt instant love when my baby come out.
Have it either
because you had the trauma.
It's the expectation that you put on this, that I am going to feel X when this happens. And expectations, I do this in other parts of my life now, but when you have an expectation of something and it falls short, you're always disappointed. But this is such a big one because we're taught from a young age, like when we have children, we're going to have a family, it's going to be the most amazing day and we're going to all feel all this love, and like it doesn't always go that way. All this story you've just told us is like, I didn't even know 5% of that. Eleanor I think probably didn't tell me because of this conversation we're going to have, but I know obviously I know the answer to this is yes, but you know, a lot of people out there who are probably going to listen to this are still going through the infertility stage. And what I want to ask you is, right now, was it worth what you went through?
It's a really hard question, Jackie, isn't it? Of course, your mind immediately goes, of course it is, because I mean, look at her. She's just beautiful. For those who can't see at home, she's lying in front of us there, and she's just absolutely gorgeous. She's the best thing that's ever happened to me. She is my best friend, and this postpartum experience has been blissful. I haven't had postnatal depression, and I haven't had baby blues, and I've just, apart from the fact that she's sleep regressing at the moment, it's been the happiest time of my life, and I never felt I could be so complete. And we're now back to how we were. Everything's fine again. And for that reason, yes.
Yeah, of course. But if I feel like if you asked us that question the first 6 weeks she was here, we both would have said no.
No.
And that's the God's honest truth.
Because
you
the trauma.
Took some time. Yeah, traumatic for sure.
Traumatic.
It overshadows it all, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And these are the things that people don't talk about. No. You know, we've had a lot of conversations on here from people who are maybe dietitians. We have Ro on a few times to talk about all the things you can do preventative and not, try to get you to that stage. But we've never actually spoke to someone who's gone through this, actually had the little miracle that we've got in front of us, and then talked honest and openly about how tough that the actual getting pregnant and that part is. Because, again, I feel like this whole thing is taboo in some way, shape or form in society. And it shouldn't be.
No.
This is, and you know, we talked loads about, oh no, this should be the most natural thing in the world, whether it's the sex or whether it's having the baby. Like, we're not 100 years ago where, you know, we didn't have all the plastics in the water and the toxins in our food and all this stuff. We have so much more stuff to battle with to get to this stage. And I just think we need to talk about it more. So yeah, I'm just blown away by your story, by the way. Like, there's so much to that. And I'd probably sit for 3 hours asking questions. We can't, but yeah, I just want to say thanks for sharing that. And the fact that you're here now talking about it as well, and I mentioned this at the start, I think it's very brave that you've accepted our invitation to come down and talk about this, because if we can have as many conversations as this as possible, I think it's better for everyone. We all need to talk about these things.
Other people will feel more comfortable.
Yeah.
To talk about maybe what they're going through.
Yeah. Whether it's the before bit when you're trying to conceive, whether it's the pregnancy,
the during or the after.
Or after. I know loads of people who've got postnatal depression still. And that's something that still people don't talk about. Luckily, obviously, you didn't get it, but you had that expectation that you would.
I feel like we kind of went through it in the preparation.
I feel like social media plays a huge part of it as well, because people put on there their perfect lives.
Just facade.
I had the greatest, the pregnancy, and nothing was wrong, and people was looking and go, well, that should be us, that should be me.
But we thought that, didn't we? We thought that it was going to be the best time of our lives, because everyone says that it's going to be the best time of your life.
And you posted on your social media saying it wasn't, and how much of a difficult time you had, and the amount of comments you got back to saying thank you for speaking out, because I was going through this and I've not seen one post or one person on social media talk about that side of things.
And that's why we're here, isn't it? That's why we're here having this conversation with you, because we can't believe the overwhelming response of people that were also going through what we were going through at the same time as us, and that is shocking.
Yeah,
why can't we speak about this more? And I think there really needs to be a conversation where you can, not to do the whole wicked thing, holding space, but we do need to hold space for the ability to struggle, but also to be grateful at the same time, because there wasn't a moment during that struggle that I wasn't grateful for this opportunity to have my baby. And I knew she was coming and I knew it was going to be magical, but that doesn't mean that you can't struggle for it.
You can have both at the same time.
And I think that is important. I do think as women, we feel like because infertility is everywhere and a lot of people don't struggle to have their miracles, we've been those people ourselves. Then we need to be grateful for every single second of this opportunity, but it wasn't the blissful experience that we were having. So although it was magical what was happening to us, at the same time it was horrendous, and I do think we can hold space for both of those feelings at the same time.
Completely
agreed. Yeah.
And it's that we've talked about this loads, it's not just the woman who's going through the pregnancy. You've got the man on the other side of it. Or if it's LGBTQ or family building, whatever, you've got the partner, and then you've got the friends and family. Because they don't know what to say.
No.
And they're scared of saying the wrong thing. You've got like a whole ecosystem of support around, and everyone in their own way is
involved in somewhat.
And struggling.
And also struggling, in their own way.
They definitely didn't know how to deal with it or talk about it. Like my dad really struggled. I actually watched, so I hope you don't mind me saying, I watched the video a few days ago of when we told my dad that I was pregnant, and this was obviously the fourth time, sorry. And he was like, he wasn't not happy. He was like, that's brilliant, like, well done. And I was like hoping for this really like exciting sort of response, and then he really wasn't comfortable letting himself be happy or excited until I was 6 months pregnant maybe. And then he started getting a bit excited, was like maybe buying a few bits. He was like, I was just terrified the whole time, and I just couldn't let I couldn't let myself be excited.
Yeah, it was very much like that. I mean, we didn't get anything for the first 6 months, did we? We was that scared.
I didn't even have a baby shower.
No, I mean, my sister had many things for us to give, and we didn't want anything take anything off her until we knew for sure that this baby. And then again, you still don't know,
of course,
because anything can up to the day. Can, like you said, going through your birth, anything can happen from on the day. So there's no guarantee as well.
But like you say with the family members, and that really reminded me of my poor mum and what she had to go through when we were going through this.
Seeing her daughter going through that.
Well, I think ringing her every single day, and I think she was buzzing. It was her first grandchild, and was trying to get some form of positivity out of me, wasn't it? Saying it will all be worth it, saying it will be worth it, and I was like, Mum, that's not helpful. But she doesn't know what to say.
No, of course.
What are you meant to? What are you meant to say? And even our mutual friend Poz, I think in the end was just like, I don't know what to say to you anymore, because
I've had 2 great births, great pregnancies, and people sort of, like you said, they don't know what to say, and it's hard because you're looking for that helpful hand somewhere, and it's nowhere to be seen.
Yeah, because they don't know, because they just don't know what to
And again,
say.
on my side as well, being the husband, being the boyfriend, and Jess coming out and saying, well, I don't want this baby anymore. I don't want it.
What do you do?
What do I say? What do I say back to them?
No, mate, it's tough.
You haven't got a right answer.
There is no right answer, though, is there?
In any of it.
In any of it, it's all just muddling through and figuring out what works for you, and everyone's different.
But I think it is really important within your NHS unit. Everyone has it around the country. There is a perinatal mental health team, and if you are struggling at any point of your pregnancy or in postpartum, they are there to listen. They can help you. They are trained in mental health. This is not your GP, who's a general practitioner that has an overall general knowledge of everything. This is trained midwives that can help you, that can support you, and we still do a lot of work with the perinatal mental health team at Lewisham Hospital, and we go to our antenatal classes and try and speak to women that are going through exactly what we're going through, to give them that hope, to give them that hope. Great. That you can have. We take Bill and show her off, don't we? Our little Billy, and it's really important for us to go back to the hospital, isn't it? And show people that there is another side to all of this. And it's not because you've been through prenatal depression that you have postnatal depression. Obviously, it's not, it's not inevitable, but you can be all right, can't you, Bill? What about the future dads?
Yeah, I was going to touch on that. Yeah, so through the antenatal classes that we went to, and I made sure that I was there every week with Jess, just to get some more knowledge.
And these are the mental health specific ones. Yeah. Okay. So this isn't your average antenatal. This is specifically for women and dads and partners that go through mental health.
Yeah.
Okay, amazing.
So through the mental health team at Lewisham Hospital, there was a class called Future Dads, which they sort of encouraged us to all to go to it. And I went to it one day on a Saturday with my friend who was due 2 days after us, my best friend Connor, and we went together and on a Saturday, and it was a 5-hour class.
Oh wow!
And it was all new dads sitting in there, just for dads, all new dads. There was about eight of us in there, completely free of charge, and they showed us how to change nappies, to clean the baby.
That's brilliant.
And any questions that we had going into this new world that all of us we haven't got a clue about. And I didn't know how to change a nappy. I didn't know how to clean babies properly, or what to do if they had different cries or stuff, etc., stuff like that. So going into that and it being completely free of charge as well, it was brilliant. So definitely I would suggest and go into any classes that possible and getting you prepared for what's to come.
That's amazing. I didn't even know that.
I didn't know the NHS offered that.
No, I didn't. I definitely would have done it if I'd known, because when we had a really good experience with the home birth team that we worked with.
They were fantastic.
But yeah, I think it's almost like getting this information out. This is why I asked you anything else, because anyone who's listening, they might listen to this now and they try it, and then in 9 months' time, they're going through this. So
put that
all
in
these
the show
things,
notes.
Yeah, we'll put all in the description as well.
And obviously, you would have said as well about going to the NHS. As soon as you think you've got fertility issues, don't wait.
Just go.
Just go straight away.
100%.
Because if we'd have gone sooner, hindsight is a beautiful thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
But there is the midwives did tell us this, and the doctors did tell us this as well. As soon as you think there's a problem, just go and have that conversation.
Yeah. Right, well, I think you, young lady, are wrapping this up for us. Would you like to say a final few words? Would you like to say a final?
And now she's going to go quiet.
Yeah.
Because we've asked
guys will shy now.
Well, guys, thank you so much
for coming on.
Thank you for having
Thanks
me.
for having
We
us.
really appreciate you sharing that in as much depth as you did. We're so happy that you've... Yes, I'm talking about you. we're so happy you got your miracle. You guys look like great parents. So
Thank you.
best of luck with it. And yeah, thanks again.
Thanks for having us on. It's been great. Thank you.
Woohoo!